Hey guys, Max Darnado here, and we are on episode 30 of our UDK tutorial account series. And so I wanted to do a couple things for this video. We're going to talk about what makes a rare champion decent. So that way you guys, I know I get a lot of the questions in Discord that's like, hey, should I keep this champion? Should I feed this champion? Is this rare worth keeping? So I'm going to show you how I decide that. I'm also going to show you some of the pulls that I got. I know in the previous video I mentioned that I was going to be trying to save my one void shard, and I think I had like say 3 or 4 ancient shards, but my kids wanted to pull some shards and I didn't want them to pull on my main account, and so since this is kind of a all fun tutorial account, I figured they could pull on that. And I'll show you what I got. Nothing too wild and crazy, but still I will show you what I got there. I'll do a quick update on progression and then we'll go from there. So first off, I will show you guys where I'm at on the missions. I've finally hit the Fuse Justiciar, and I'll show you guys how you can kind of look ahead to see what missions are available, and I'm kind of go from there. So if we go to hellhades.com, which is a super wonderful resource for a lot of folks if you're not familiar with that, you can go to over here to Raid Shadow Legends, and then if you scroll down here, it should say Arbiter Missions. You click that, and then from here it'll pull up all the different mission strands, and so we are on the second part right here. And if we scroll all the way down to Fuse Justiciar, we can see here. So I'll show you guys the ones that I was able to knock out today. We got the, I think I started on the Spider's Den, yeah. So I started on the Spider's Den, so I was able to complete this one, the 3 level 16 artifacts, complete the level 7 Brimstone Path hard, 1.5 million damage on the Demon Lord, Clan Boss, 7 of Brimstone Path on hard, reach Silver 2 in Classic, and finally I'm on Fuse Justiciar. I will be able to fuse Justiciar very soon. I've got all 4 of the rares that are required, and so I'll go in game to show you that. If we go to Relic Keeper and then Justiciar right here, you can see I've already got a few copies of them just from random pools and stuff, but you just have to have these 4 rares leveled up to 30 right here and ascended to 3-star. So we've got that. Oh, this is actually my main account. That's funny. Ignore my main account shenanigans. Let's see. Let me pull up this other. I was like, man, that's a I thought that was odd when I saw that many Justiciars. I was like, that's a lot. I didn't think I had that. That's too funny. Okay. Let's see. It's a lot of food sitting in my vault I need to get rid of. Let's see. Here we go. So you can see I've got 1 War Maiden. I knew there was something wrong whenever I saw a level 50 War Maiden on the other account. But I've got this one. I just need to level it up to 30 and then it'll be ready to feed in. I've got my Diabolist, my Spirit Host, and my Heirs. So once I'm done with that, I'll be able to move into the next round of missions. Now the benefits of that website is you can go on there and kind of plan ahead a little bit, right? So I can look here and say, okay, I'm going to be able to do this one right off the bat. I think this will be retroactive. I hope it's retroactive. I'm pretty sure it is. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've went this far in the missions. So let's see. So a lot of these I'll be able to do pretty quick. I don't imagine any of them are going to give me too hard of a problem. Yeah. So again, we'll start to get kind of time gated based on like when one superior potion and magic, and so if the magic keeps not open, then you just can't do it, right? So that'll be kind of a time gating. We've already reached Silver 3, so that's not an issue. We'll see if, I mean, it'll be kind of a time gate if we need to upgrade champions to rank 6. That will be a time gate, and so that will be valuable for me to be able to share with you guys, so that way you can plan ahead a little bit more. But yeah, so definitely we've got some things to work on in this next strand of missions, so excited about that. So on hellhades.com, this is also a super good way for me to show you guys kind kind of how I decide if a champion is worth keeping or if it's not, right? So if we're on hellhades.com and we go here to the top where it's got the little drop down, and then we go to champion tier list, right? There's a couple different tier lists. There's champion tier list, and then there's faction wars tier list. If you're trying to decide whether you should feed a rare or not, you're probably going to go to faction wars tier list, okay? And then once you go to faction wars tier list, like let's say that we were to pull, let's say we pulled a war maiden, right? So we can go to barbarians because we know war maiden's a barbarian, and then we're like, oh, about war maiden, should we keep her, should we not? I don't know. We can go ahead and just type in war maiden, and it would tell us like, whoa, decreased defense. So she's a really strong champion for decreased defense, and she does great damage in general, right? So so that's one way you can look at it. Like let's say if we were to look at, say you pulled an epic that was like Armina from barbarians, right? Then you could look and say, oh wow, she's also godlike for decreased defense. She does a decreased defense attack all enemies, so she's going to apply it to everyone. It's got a 100% chance to land. She's also a really strong damage dealer. She's also really good with turn meter, and she can stun people. So you can start to say like, oh, okay, this is a faction wars champion that is worth keeping. Now, if we were to go to say totem, or let's pull up a barbarian that's not very good. Let's see here. Let's go to a barbarian rare. Let's say for example, you were to pull, let's say Slayer. Okay, so let's just take a look at Slayer's kit right off the bat, and we'll kind of form an opinion before we go in to look at Hell Hades. He's got an A1 that has a chance of placing decreased attack. He's got an A2 that attacks all enemies. He's got an A3 that attacks one enemy, places poisons, and has a chance of placing a stun. Okay, so we can say that that's decent for faction wars, right? Like anytime you have a champion that can attack all enemies, that's gonna be decent for faction wars, at least for the early stages, right? So if I had no other barbarians on my team, I could take a Slayer in and potentially go clear the first couple waves of faction wars, right? So let's look at faction wars. Like, oh, this is perfect. We have a 0 stars on Ore Crypt, right? Up until this point, I've not been able to clear stage 1 of Ore Crypt. I just haven't had the champions. So now I pulled a Gallic out of one of those ancient shards, and I pulled a totem. And so let's see totems. A1 poison, A2 chance of removing a random buff from the target, and then A3 attacks all enemies, right? That's what we're looking for. We love to see place decreased defense. We love to see that. But the fact is we want to see attack all enemies. So these both of these champions do not have any gear on. Let's just see with 0 gear if 2 level 30s can clear it. They very well might not be able to, right? They might just, something might happen to them, they might die. But we can see the benefits of attack all enemy rares. You can toss some level 8 gear on these champions and they will clear this like no problem, right? So if the rare says attacks all enemies, you already know, okay, that's a rare that I can put in my, stage 1 through 3 faction wars, and they're going to be totally fine to help clear that. So that's just something to be mindful of, okay? Let me see. Okay, sorry, I was trying to fix my mic to make sure that this fan's not picking up too much background noise. So you can see I didn't clear stage 1. That's okay. Let's go put some really basic gear on these 2 champions. And then you guys can kind of see the process for just clearing those stage 1, stage 3 faction wars. So we got Gallic. We know Gallic because he's a starter champion. He's a good damage dealer, right? Gallic, Aethel, Elhain, Kale, all 3 of them are strong damage dealers. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to take these champions to 60. Once you have your 1 starter champion at 60, you don't need to start saying like, oh, there's another Aethel, there's another Elhain, I'm going to go ahead and take them up to 60. Like, yes, they will be nukers, but you've already got a strong nuker, right? You've got your first 60 that's a strong magic type nuker. So you don't necessarily need to prioritize that this early in the game. It might be something that you choose to do strategically later on in the game, but it's not something that you need to pressure yourself into. I actually made that mistake, I'll say that. I watched all these other content creators that were like, oh, the first 4 starter champions, they're all good, they're all great damage dealers, like don't feel bad about taking those to 60, right? what they were saying was don't feel bad about taking your first one to 60. Like that's a great choice. You want to power through, get that first one to 60 as quickly as you can. I took that as, oh, I should get all 4 to 60. And so I did that, and I kind of regretted it. Like I've got my Kale starter champion to 60. I took a Gallic to 60. And I don't even use Gallic for my Orc team. So I mean, it's just something to be cautious of, I guess. Certainly in the secret rooms, you have to use. So that's a later game thing, though. That's like you're doing secret rooms for Hard Doom Tower, and you need multiple, attack all enemies in stun gear, random stuff like that. So that's the late game strategy. But yeah, so certainly we're gonna go ahead and put him in some attack gear, and he's gonna have no problems at all clearing that. So we can and we can feel good about taking him up to level 40 even, right? Like he's gonna help our faction wars, no doubt about that. So we can see what kind of gear we have just sitting around. We're not going to take this gear up to level 12 or anything crazy. We're just going to take it up to level 8, get some stats on him, so that way he can go and do his job a little bit better. Okay. Now, also, because he is a faction wars champion, I don't mind putting him in attack or attack percent. If it's a flat attack, that's fine with me, right? I don't mind this, and it honestly gives me a reason to use this gear. So I'm okay with it. So we can see if there's flat attack with crit rate. Perfect. We can use this. Yeah. See, this is a decent piece for a faction war champion. It's not a piece that I'm going to want to use like long term. And so whenever I potentially go to, if I feed Gallic, which I probably won't feed a starter champion, but if I was to feed a faction wars rare later on, I don't mind sacrificing that gear and not having to pay the silver cost to remove it. So for this, we can use like attack percent or attack, because you don't need to have super high speed for the first few stages of Faction Wars. Let's see. Let's see, why isn't this? Oh, that's why. Okay. So I've been keeping a lot of these random pieces like this. So we can see here. Yeah, so we can just use this, right? We're just trying to use this fatal set. It's fine, however it rolls. Don't really care. Let's see, we'll go ahead and find these top 3 pieces. And you guys will see the difference just putting on this random gear makes, right? And that, we're going to say crit rate. And let's see what we can find here. This piece is awesome for that. Take it up to 8. Now, remember, I'm not taking these pieces up to 12 to 16, right? Like, I'm not trying to waste tons and tons of silver. We don't have the silver to do that. We don't have the desire to do that at all. So that piece is fine. And let's see. This piece is going to be okay. Okay, now let's check out his stats overall. He's got 76% chance of critting. He's got, just some basic attack. And I'm not even going to worry about gear and totem. If we wanted to gear totem, we could, and we'd probably get a little bit further. We'd probably get into that stage 3 range, which is good, to do. And I will say, if you have uncommons or commons, go ahead and toss them in. Because if they target this guy, Warboy, instead of these two, then that's a good thing. So we'll go ahead and see this. So just to kind of recap, if you're looking to decide, should I feed this rare or not? Does it do an attack all enemies? If it does, then probably don't feed it, right? You can use it for your first couple stages of Faction Wars, and then that way you can start to farm up those perception pieces and resilience pieces. So I mean, you can see just level 8 gear making a phenomenal difference. So yeah, no issues at all. Didn't even kill Warboy. that's the difference it made. So yeah, definitely worth doing that. The other thing is, make sure you look at the Hell Hades website, right? There's so many good resources for this game. There's a Yumi Love, there's Hell Hades, there's our Discord. You can always come and check in our Discord, which is in our description. And you can just ask too, but it doesn't hurt to just go in here and type in, same thing for, like, if you were on a Yumi Love, And like, let's say that we typed in War Maiden. Okay. And so it would tell us down here, it would give us a little review, right? It would tell us some different ideas for gear, what it recommends. It might give some different masteries. It might give us some different build options and stuff. So give us different videos, right? So there's a lot of resources. You don't need to worry about like, oh, should I feed this rare? Should I not feed this rare? All you have to do is Google search it real quick. There's so many content creators that help make content for this game. You don't have to wonder too much. You just have to do a little bit of Google searching. But again, we're always happy to answer that question on Discord. And as you start to play the game more and more, you'll kind of start to realize like, oh, this is a champion that attacks all enemies, or this is a champion that puts decreased defense on all enemies, or decreased speed on all enemies, or increased attack on all allies, right? Things like that naturally just make sense. If you had a champion that did an A1 that attacked one time, didn't put anything out, an A2 that attacked one time and didn't put anything out, and it only attacked one enemy, you would say like, oh, that's not a very good champion, right? So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Like I said, guys, I just kind of wanted to show you my thought process in regards to how I decide like, oh, is this a champion that I'm going to use or not use? I will show you guys what I have done as far as update on the account. I've got Ornn to rank 6. Very excited about that. So just as a reminder, I've got Ornn in bolster gear because he is based on HP, and I just wanted to have a bolster set on my team, and I went ahead and put Archbishop in a bolster set. The nice thing about having these bolster sets is they actually combine, and so you have one larger shield that's protected. So that's really cool. And guys, I know I stressed this in one of the previous videos. Whenever we have a Forge Pass, do the free dailies. These 5-star pieces, 4-star pieces, 5-star pieces, this is just from the free dailies, right? I've not spent a dime on this account. And I was able to get some of these 4-star epics, 5-star pieces just from the dailies. So just make sure you're doing the basic dailies that come with the Forge Pass. I did get a Renegade. Yes, from the one Void Shard that I had, I pulled a Renegade. So if you're a veteran of the game, you know how strong Renegade is. She is an absolute monster of a champion. She has an A1 that does a heal reduction, nothing too fancy with that. The A2 is an attack 3 times, so she's strong in Fire Knight for that. Then also, the wonderful thing about Renegade is she's kind of like a mini Prince Kymar. Decreases cooldown of all allies skills by 2 turns, okay, and it goes on a 5-turn cooldown, right? So the reason this is so strong is because, like, think about it. If you were to go in and do a like a combination of 3 of your allies were like decreased defense, boom, they nuke, then boom, they do some hard crowd control, everyone's stunned, right? And then Renegade was to do like whoop, everyone gets sacrificial ritual, and then they only have to take 1 more turn before all of those abilities are back on cooldown, back active. Like, that's a huge deal, right? So she is an absolute wonderful champion. You can see people rate her strong for a lot of reasons, and excited to put her to work. Other rares that I got, nothing too major, nothing too exciting. Did get a Gnarlhorn, which is a strong rare for sure. And again, I'm going to use him for Faction Wars, right? Like, look, he places an unkillable on himself, and he places a provoke debuff on all enemies. Champions that do things to all enemies are really strong in Faction Wars because it's wave-based content. So yeah, excited to use him. Someone like Boltsmith, I probably wouldn't use, right? Like, let's look at Boltsmith. He's got an A1, it's got a low chance of placing decreased speed, he's got an increased crit rate on himself, increased crit damage on himself, attacks 1 enemy. Like, these are kind of selfish abilities. It's not super ideal for wave-based content. And you can see people rate him accordingly, right? Like, people rate him accordingly and say, like, he's not even very good for Faction Wars. Same thing like Honor Guard. Let's see him. A1, decrease accuracy, A1, chance of stealing a couple random buffs, A3, attacks 1 enemy, like these selfish kind of attack one enemy abilities aren't going to rate very well. Um, so that's just one quick way you can kind of look at it. Arcanist, on the other hand, she's got some good kit, right? She's got an A1. It only attacks one enemy, but let's look at her A2. Continuous heal buff on all allies. It's not a continuous heal on Arcanist. It's all allies. Wave-based content. You're looking at how can you buff all your allies and how can you damage all the enemies, right? Place increased attack buff on all allies for 3 turns too, right? Arcanist is going to be in my Knight Rev team. And you can also see that she's rated accordingly, right? Because of that. Now, the ratings aren't always going to be 100% reliable. Sometimes people will just troll with the ratings, and that can be kind of concerning. But if you, and sometimes champions get buffed and the ratings are like completely dog crap, but then after they're buffed, they're really strong, but all people have already rated the champion bad. So that's why it's useful to ask in Discord. It's useful to check the Hell Hades website, and to just use your brain too, right? Like if it's all allies or if it's all enemies, chances are it's decent. So I've kind of rambled on long enough. I hope you guys found some of those hints helpful. Tomorrow we're starting our keyword giveaway for the Ninja account. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you're interested in catching updates on that. We're getting so close to 500 guys. Huge shout out to all y'all who are putting so much effort in the Discord. I can't express how much I appreciate it. Everyone is so helpful in there and gives such good feedback to people. It's funny, like I see like, oh, there's a message for someone who's asked a question, and before I even have a chance to really respond, like there's already a couple people who are engaged in conversation, and it's honestly such a cool community to be a part of. So huge shout out to everyone who's participating in that. As far as the clan availability update goes, we do have a little bit of space available in the Bastion 1. We have a little bit of space available in Bastion 2, a little bit of space available in the Bastion 3. And we actually have some works for the Bastion 4 as well, because the Bastion 3 is getting close to filling up. Just as a reminder, the Bastion 2 kind of currently has our highest damage dealers, and so we're working on like Brutal and Nightmare Clan Boss. So if you're interested in applying to the clans, go to Discord, and there's a section where you can just do clan application. So thank you all so much for all the love, all the support, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week. It's Sunday night right now at the time of recording this, and so I'm looking forward to having a good week and putting out some good videos for you guys, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.